Let's get ready to rumble!
Stand proud and I stand tall. This is not a victory lap for me because it's not over. They're going to try again and they're going to try again. And guess what? Here I am. Keep trying. That's not going to stop me from being a journalist. You're not going to diminish my voice. Go ahead, make me into the new Jimmy Kimmel.
That happened. Yes. Yes, it did. What you said? Come get me? Come get me? They got you, Lemon. They got you, bro. And I'm sorry to say that, bro. Not really. Y'all want to be cocky. Y'all want to be all this and all that. That don't fly, bro. They think that they could do that crap to us, to the conservatives, to all this crap. No, no, no. No. He got arrested last night while he was in a hotel room. That he did, people. That he did. And here's the thing about it, right? Because this is the same mentality that the other guy had. Remember the white guy? Come and get me. They ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't gonna do nothing. These people have the same mentality, but they want to be the victims. They want to be the victims of this crap. And Jennifer Waltz and many others are going to defend Don Lemon's Sour Lemon. Got arrested. And now he has to hold it. He's going to have to hold that, man. Let's see what these people are trying. Let's see how they feel, how they're feeling right now.
While he was covering the Grammys, the New York Times reports federal agents arrest Don Lemon over Minnesota church protests. The former CNN anchor has said he was not demonstrating, but reporting as a journalist during the interruption of a service inside a St. Paul church earlier this month. Don Lemon's statement is as follows. Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles, where he was covering the Grammy Awards. Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done.
We already know this. We know that what tends to be the case, and it's been Don Lemon's, he keeps reiterating, because again, the thing that you have to do, and people understand, is that you constantly have to keep repeating, right? The left-wing Democrats, they keep calling ICE agents Nazi Gestapo, Nazi Gestapo, Nazi Gestapo. Trump's a fascist, MAGA's a fascist. This is a fascist authoritarian government. You keep repeating words over and over and over and over again. It gets stuck in people's head, much like a song, right? TikTok has many trends. The trends get stuck in your head, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're driving, you're somewhere, and you start singing the song. Why? Because it gets ingrained. You get indoctrinated to the same thing. So if you call someone something over and over again, eventually other people are either going to start calling that and think that's true. Here's the same thing. Don Lemon keeps repeating it as his defense. This is my First Amendment protest. I was just protesting. I'm only doing a journalist. I wasn't protesting. This is my First Amendment. The First Amendment tells me I can protest wherever I want. And this is a guy who didn't know what the FACE Act was. He didn't understand the FACE Act. Right? He had his little homeboy, the AG of Minnesota there, Keith Ellison, trying to explain to him the FACE Act, right? And even, and you watch that episode, Keith Ellison, he was confused. He's like, I don't know how they're charging you with it, because Keith Ellison didn't even understand it. They're only thinking about the abortion clinic, right? We're living in a time where the abortion clinic is more sanctuous, it has more of a religious setting than a church, right? Even though the FACE Act, part of it says you are not allowed to obstruct people's freedom of religion or to practice religion, which they did. The evidence is there. They were in a Sunday worship and they came and disrupted the service. Obstruction. The pastor was asked, and I played the video, the pastor asked Don Lemon and these people to get out. Now you're trespassing. But no, it's the First Amendment. You can't do this. You can't do that, right? Listen, they bring up other things, right? I've seen people say this. Jan 6 actually ended up voting or working against what's happening now, right? There's a guy that was there named Steve Baker, right? I think he's part of the Blaze organization and stuff like that. He too was arrested and given misdemeanors and all of this stuff. And a lot of the times, what was that? Well, so he got hit with knowingly entering in and remaining in restricted grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct in the Capitol, and picketing, right? So Baker was charged with 4, charged by the federal government, by the way, apparently because he entered the Capitol building through a broken door, sorry. He joined the crowd inside, remained inside for about an hour. I love obviously they're timing it, right? Do we know how long Don Lemon was actually in the building for? We could all we have to do is, because especially because he's live streaming his own crap, just follow him. How long is he in there for? Hopefully they get him on that, right? Listen to this. He was accused of antagonizing officers because he kept asking the officers, are they using their gun? Jeez, wouldn't that be called journalism though? Because according to this, right, according to what Don Lemons is saying about journalism, this is nothing wrong if he's asking questions and he's being a journalist. And so then you also get this, right? Prosecutors cited his post-event comments, calling Nancy Pelosi derogatory names, expressing regret for not taking government property as evidence of his intent to join the mob rather than to act as a journalist. Right. But wouldn't we be able to do the same thing here? Because all I would have to do, and I've showed it to you, all I would have to do is then prove later on that Don Lemons has something, a vendetta against those Christians. He was on this same podcast, on this same episode with Jennifer Waltz, basically calling the people in that church entitled white nationalist supremacists. So wouldn't that also then, if I'm taking the way they did Baker, wouldn't I take the same thing and say, well, Don Lemons already has something against white people and white churches and evangelical churches, so he went in there with the intention of exposing, of antagonizing. You see how these people don't want to do this, right? But Jennifer's going to go ahead and defend, right? He's going to defend. Let's see what she says.
Well, the holidays have...
Right? Let's see what she says. Sorry about that, people. Okay. While this is going on, and here we go.
Very intimidated when people put a mirror up in front of their diabolical actions, the pure Nazi evil fascism that exudes from this administration. And
you see that? Nazi fascists. We're going back again, ingraining it. Don Lemon was already setting up his defense. It's a First Amendment. They're just protesting. I'm not here to really protest. I'm here, First Amendment, freedom of speech, this and that. It's journalism. He was already doing it. Repetition. And all of a sudden, all these people, he's just doing his First Amendment. They fell into the same thing.
It's a better mirror up to that than Don Lemon. And he has been rigorous in his honesty regarding his reporting in this regime.
His honesty. He was just on this podcast with her and had no evidence that these Christians in this church were white nationalists, were white supremacists. But he got on this show with her and argued and said, oh, these people are entitled, with no evidence. He didn't do any evidence, right? And remember, according to Don, I was caught off guard. I didn't know I was going into the church. But if they go into the church, we're going to go in there and chronicle this whole thing. He had no evidence of what he said on this podcast. But we have to take his word for it because he worked at CNN. Whatever.
This is clearly selective prosecution. This is seriously an erosion of the First Amendment.
We already had the erosion of the First Amendment. We've had it. These people weren't saying nothing with Biden. They weren't saying anything with that.
Don is a canary in the coal mine right now. And they're going to see how far they can take this because make no mistake about it. Everybody's on the chopping block. Us, all of corporate media is getting gobbled up by Trump.
These are the same people in COVID, which we actually have now, that were willing to silence the opposition that were saying the coronavirus is not just some spontaneous crap that came out of nowhere, that the vaccines are not going to help. that every science, that all the scientific thing that we knew about viruses apparently went to hell because Fauci and all these people, and we all, it's basically there. They were silencing anyone that was saying contrary to what they were saying about the coronavirus. A lot of the time it was the conservatives, and they were just shutting them down, shutting them away. Shut up. They're wrong. They're cuckoo. They're conspiracy theory. And yet now we know that these people were actually in the right. Scott Atlas and all these individuals were writing books and telling us that Fauci was on some weird shit, that all the people in the administration were on some weird shit, that the scientific community was on some weird shit. And we didn't, and the people that were saying, wait a minute, hold up, ivermectin, they were saying, oh, Joe Rogan is telling us to put horse medicine inside of us, when it proved that ivermectin was actually helping. So who the hell are these people telling? Now they want to play victim. This is a game. Everybody wants to play this game, right? When it's conservatives getting picked on, they don't want to say shit. But when it's them finally getting put to the fire, oh no, they're coming after us. They're coming all of us. You constantly, the corporate media, bro, there's a reason why she's on a platform like this. There's a reason why Lemons is on a platform like YouTube, why people are streaming, why more people are listening to streamers than the actual ABC, NBC, CNN, all that shit. The reason why is because the corporate media as a whole is trash. They're trash. All they do is peddle lies. They don't really do journalism. So now we have to deal with people. And these are the same people that will say Nick Sorter is full of crap for the Somali stuff. I've heard people call him the Team U, Charlie Kirk. Don't take him correctly. Yet these are the same people that she's sitting on YouTube platforming me because her ass cannot get a job no more as a journalist in real life. Don Lemons has to do his own show because his ass cannot work in the corporate media. Nobody gives a shit about the corporate media. So boo-hoo, right? Boo-hoo. These are the same people that are saying, oh, they're coming after all of us. Bro, you've been coming after all of us. The hatred you have for Christian and Christianity just comes out. And this is the only reason why you can say all that crap is because you have a platform like this. You can't say that in social media because they'll come and correct your ass like they do with The View half of the time. Or they have to be like, oh, we have to make sure we don't say anything. Crazy stuff.
Sycophants. And so this is the first spear that they want to attack independent media. Everybody right now, go to Don Lemon's YouTube page and subscribe to his channels. Follow him on social media. Promote his posts. There are little ways each and every one of you can resist. Everybody can resist. If you cannot leave your home, share on your social medias, share all of these injustices. Tell people you stand with Don. Tell people you stand with the First Amendment. And those of you that can protest, always protest peacefully. My dearest Don Lemon, we adore you. We stand with you.
We love you. You're gonna be a martyr. You're gonna be doing all this. Oh no, Don, he was just being all the journalists need to be careful. We don't want to hear it, bro. We don't want to hear it because when you guys have power and you had the power, you were shutting our conservatives down, telling us to shut the hell up, that we were doing this and all that we were conspiracy theorists. You don't now when somebody actually got caught red-handed doing something, went into a church on it. By the way, I want to keep re-emphasizing this. It wasn't like they went into an empty church or it was Monday through Saturday when typically you don't have a church service. They did it right when there's a church service, Sunday morning, and you can see it. Don has no more. He actually put himself in that position. He was evidence, right? And that's the thing about it. So what do they expect him to do? What are they going to do? They got nothing. We have him on camera. He has himself on camera. He was asked to leave by the pastor. So technically, you're still trespassing. We want to know that. But no, now they're going to make him into the martyr. Now the left is going to be like, oh, Trump is coming after. Now this is really Nazism. Now this is really fascist. They're going after independent journalists. They're doing all this and all that. When Nick Sorrell got arrested in Portland, the Democrats over there were saying, well, he's an antagonizer. All you have to do is flip the script. All I gotta say is, yeah, Don was there filming, but maybe maybe he was telling them to do something. Maybe he knew. He already has a bias against Christianity, against a certain type of Christianity. And that's the thing about it. But hey, you know what, Don? I'm sure he'll be out in bail and they'll do this and do that. But what? So what, man? Guys, let me know. It's crazy out here, right? You'll have her. I'm sure Brian Shapiro. I've already seen that. Well, probably I might cover it on his show because when he got arrested, some people took over his show and they were talking about it and basically saying that this is the infringement against us and this and that. And here's what I want to leave you with, right? A university professor of law, media law, Professor Jane Kirtley, said this, that journalism is not a get out of free jail card, right? That even accredited journalists can be prosecuted for breaking the law while on the job. Again, we must look at the FACE Act, right? And figure out what exactly is it that it prevents people from doing, okay? So I want to do this. I'm going to read the FACE Act before we get out so that you can kind of see what it's doing. The FACE Act is the Freedom of Access to Clinical Entrance Act, which means that people cannot stop, right? People cannot stop people from coming into an abortion clinic if they were to have abortion. So obstructing them and stuff like that. It's actually a federal crime. Okay. So it was signed by President Bill Clinton in 1994, and it says using force, threat, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, or interfere with someone obtaining or providing reproductive health services, which could be you stopping a doctor, you're stopping someone that is trying to get into the abortion clinic, right? And this is the key point. Similar actions interfering with the exercise of the freedom of religion at a place of worship, intentionally damaging or destroying property such as facilities or places of worship, which means that if you come in there in the middle of a worship and you want to just stop the service and you want to shout and protest and do all this, that's obstruction. That is an obstruction. You are obstructing worshipers from doing their expression of religion. And Don was in the middle of that shit, right? Don was in the middle of that shit. And just because you claim to be journalism or doing journalism or just chronicling, you're a historic chronicle, right? I like the fact that he uses that word. I'm a historian chronicle. I don't know why this man thinks he's a Greek. But you were there, bro. You were obstructing. And journalism, like the professor said, that is not a get out of jail free card. And he would know this. I'm sure when he was at CNN, he knew this. He would not get in there. He would stay away. I'm sure his bosses told him that. So the fact that he's doing this as an independent journalist, what? I don't know. Let me know how you feel about this. Do you think that it was good? Do you think it's right that Don Lemons got arrested? I think the other ones definitely have. There's a good case for the other ones to be arrested. The leader and the people that were protesting them got arrested. I think there's a good case for them. But when it comes to Don Lemons, what do you think? You think that this is right? Do you think that Trump and this administration is actually being fascist and Nazis for doing this? Do you think that they're actually attacking journalists? Do you think that this is retribution? Let me know in the comments if you think that this is just an act of the Trump administration as retribution for what happened. Or do you think that Don was in the wrong and now he has to pay the consequences, much like all of us would? But guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.